Welcome to this morning's presentation. My name is Rachel Barber and I will be your host this morning. In essence, the aim of the presentation is really to understand in more detail the importance of how payroll integration can work for you. So if we set the scene a little bit for you, so since the introduction of auto-enrolment, things have changed significantly. So back in 2012, it was a case that for a lot of employers, this was the first time that they've had any interaction or any dealings with the workplace pension, and as such, they lent on payroll professionals such as yourselves to help and support them with their auto-enrolment obligations. That meant from your perspective, you would have to get involved with a lot of the heavy lifting surrounding the ongoing administration of the schemes. I'm sure over the years you've all felt certain pain points with clunky systems and time-consuming processes. Fast forward to current day and the integration that is now available through our payroll integration makes your lives a little bit easier and hopefully will alleviate some of those pain points that you have experienced. We're really fortunate enough today to be joined by two key note speakers who are subject matter experts within this particular area. So we are joined by Rupert Farmelo at the People's Pension and Dan Donovan from PensionSync. So Rupert, could I ask you to introduce yourself firstly, please?
Thank you very much, Rachel, and good morning, everyone. I hope you're well today and enjoying the sunshine wherever you are in the country. As Rachel said, my name is Rupert Farmelo. I am the National Payroll Relationship Manager for the People's Pension, and my main role is to lead relationships with our payroll software and other business partners like the good guys at PensionSync, with a view to driving digital technology to help our clients submit and manage their pensions in the most simple way. So I work with some of the leading payroll software companies in the UK. Some of you may be using those companies, and with those companies we work together to really drive efficiency for payroll to pension processing. So my previous role, I've been doing that now for about sort of 5 or 6 years. And previous to that, I was when auto enrolment first started and the legislation was introduced in 2012. I was working in the southern part of the country, helping new employers on board to larger employers on board to the People's Pension and helping them with compliance with the legislation and understanding what their requirements were. And we continue to do that all the way through to now, where we have a lot of employers already staged with People's Pension. So that's a little bit about me. So thanks, Rachel.
Amazing. Thank you, Rupert. And Dan, over to you.
Morning, everybody. My name is Dan Donovan and I'm Head of Customer Experience at PensionSync. My background is very much in workplace pensions. I've spent the last 16 years or so working with various different pension providers. My experience of workplace pensions dates back to when things were done using check and list systems and very early versions of e-billing. So always been very familiar with how clunky pension administration can be. Thankfully, things have improved and payroll integration is a big part of that. And my involvement in payroll integration started around about 5 years ago when I joined PensionSync. I spend the majority of my time now working with payroll users, trying to help them to adopt payroll integration systems, and software companies looking to integrate into those types of systems to try and simplify payroll to pension processing as much as possible for the end users. And that's really become my sort of professional mission over recent years.
Thank you so much, Rupert and Dan, and thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate the value that you're going to add to the presentation today. So what is it that we'll be having a look at today? So let's take a look then at the agenda. So firstly, always a good starting point is we're going to have a look at who we are, and that's inclusive of the People's Pension and of PensionSync. So Rupert and Dan are both going to give us all an overview as to who we are and what we do. We're then going to take a look and scratch the surface a little bit more and understand really from your perspective as payroll professionals, the advantages surrounding using this payroll integration. And that's the important part of today's session really, is what's in it for you. Dan is then very kindly going to walk us through a demonstration to see how PensionSync actually works in practice. And then after all of that, after understanding who the People's Pension and PensionSync are, getting to grips with the advantages and taking a look at how PensionSync works in practice, if you're sitting there thinking, right, so what's next? What do I have to do next in order to get this payroll integration? Rupert and Dan, again, are going to walk us through what it is you need to do in order to get the ball rolling. And lastly, we'll take some time to answer any questions that we have had posed over the last sort of 30 minutes or so. So, Rupert, who are the People's Pension?
Thanks, Rachel. So ladies and gentlemen, just want to sort of give you a bit of an overview about the People's Pension, where we started from and where we've got to now, just to sort of fill you in on the picture really there. So we're actually not new to pensions, if I'm honest. We, under our guise of B&CE, who are providers of the People's Pension, we've actually been doing pensions for an industry sector and others for over 30 years. But in 2012, when the legislation was introduced by the government, we started People's Pension, which is a master trust type scheme which is an occupational pension scheme, which covers many employers that have no link to each other, but they just use the same provider. So over the years, we've been helping employers on board to their duties with the People's Pension and providing high levels of service and to the employers and the intermediaries and everyone that represents those people. So where we've got to now is really good, actually, from a People's Pension perspective. We've now hit 100,000 employers using the People's Pension, and that they're supported by 5.4 million members. So our members are very one of the highest levels we've actually got to. So that's really good for where we feel we are at, and that equates to around about approximately 13% of the UK working population. So it's very well established as a scheme. The assets under management, which in simple terms is the members' pension pots, we've now hit over £16 billion. So we're looking after a lot of members and their pensions, and we're trusted by those people to make sure they get meaningful outcomes at retirement. But I think one of the key things for us as well is we've got established, tried and tested systems. And when we're talking about integration and people sending us data, we've got to have systems and processes that can deal with large volumes of data. And latest sort of figures, we sort of receive in excess of 120,000 data uploads per month. So you can see there at the People's Pension, we are really set up to be able to manage pension schemes and the administration behind that as well. All of this makes us one of the largest master trust pensions in the UK.
Fantastic. And I think that's a really important point, actually, Rupert, is the fact that we do have the size and scale to deal with these huge amounts of data that's being submitted through to us. It's giving the peace of mind not only to yourselves as payroll professionals to deal with us, but also in terms of recommending us to your clients as well. We are a safe pair of hands. We are tried and tested. Rupert, I'm conscious as well that there's, as with everything, especially with pension, there's lots of abbreviations and acronyms. And although we refer to it as payroll integration, there is a terminology that's thrown around quite openly surrounding API. I'm just wondering if you can explain that a little bit more for our audience, just so everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, no problem, Rachel. Thanks for that. So yeah, when we're talking about integrations, in essence, it is using API technology, and what that means, it's more of a technical term, but that is application programming interface. But in sort of simple terms, it's just allowing two computers and programs to talk to each other, and allow you to send and receive data securely over the internet. So in the way that payroll and pensions work, because obviously they've got very close since the introduction of the legislation, this enables, by using that technology, that customers can send data securely to the People's Pension for member records over the internet.
Amazing. That was really helpful. Thanks for that, Rupert. Dan, from your perspective then, I'm conscious that for some people on the line today, it might be the first time that they've heard of PensionSync. It might be a good opportunity to walk us through exactly who it is that you are there at PensionSync and what it is you do.
So just building on from what Rupert was saying about APIs, PensionSync is essentially an API platform. So talking about payroll and pension integration, PensionSync is a system that sits in between payroll and pensions and facilitates that integration, that flow of data between one system and another. So payroll softwares integrate into PensionSync and pension providers integrate with PensionSync, and that gives a connected end-to-end flow that payroll users can use to manage their pension data as seamlessly as possible. We talk about PensionSync as the UK's only one-stop shop for payroll to pension processing, and that's because we work with the People's Pension, who are one of the largest master trusts in the UK. We also work with the 3 other major UK master trusts, which are Nest, Now Pensions and Smart Pension. And we do work with a couple of the larger sort of insurance provider based pension schemes, Aviva and Legal and General as well. So overall, with the size of those providers considered, we work with around about 80% of the whole UK auto enrolment market. And we can work with any payroll software product. So either through an integration where the payroll software has built into PensionSync, or through standard file exports that can be taken out of payroll and uploaded directly into PensionSync, we can work with whatever payroll software package you are using. What that means is that you can use PensionSync to provide you with a single pension dashboard to manage all of your clients' pension schemes. It gives you an efficient standard process that you can use across all of those clients. It can be done in bulk, so that a lot of your processing that may otherwise take you hours or even days, depending on the size of your operation, can be reduced in some cases down to seconds or minutes to complete. You've got a central management system so that you can see exactly where all of your clients' submissions are up to. So it makes it much more easy to keep on top of things so that you never miss any outstanding actions. And as well as having everything in one place, PensionSync, because we sit in between the payroll systems and the pension provider systems, and because we understand the payroll to pension data flow very, very well, the software that we provide is able to actually apply automatic data corrections in many cases. One of the best examples of that is pay period dates. So lots of you that are processing payroll and pensions on the call will have come across pay period date issues in the past. It's the most common source of payroll to pension data processing errors, where for some reason or other the pay period dates that are reported by your payroll software may not exactly match what the pension provider is expecting. And that's something that PensionSync will automatically correct as long as it's within a safe tolerance to do so. So since we started doing that particular automatic correction, we've auto corrected over 100,000 sets of pay period dates, which is over 100,000 corrections that payroll hasn't had to make, pieces of payroll rework that have been saved, and that's just one of the types of data error that we correct. There's many more examples of that as well. So that's just a bit of an insight into how PensionSync, as well as facilitating bulk processing and putting everything in one place for you to manage it together, it actually makes the process much easier as well.
I mean, that in itself, Dan, the auto fix for the PRP dates is a game changer. You know, 100,000 pieces of data that's been changed, which means that's 100,000 pieces of work that the payroll professionals haven't had to call the provider to say, can you change that PRP date? You know, it saves an enormous amount of time and money, essentially, for people that are dealing with the ongoing administration of these schemes. With the pension dashboard then, from PensionSync's perspective, are there any sort of additional reportings or reports made available to PensionSync customers to make their lives a little bit easier when administrating the schemes?
Yeah, so there is a reporting suite built into PensionSync, which enables payroll users to pull out reports. Some of the reports that you can get out of PensionSync include worker changes, so that would cover things like if anybody's opted out within the last 6 weeks, whether anybody has asked to stop contributions within the last 6 weeks, so that if you're running, say, a monthly payroll, you can pick up those updates from PensionSync and update your payroll software. You can also download reports of your submission history, so you can see exactly what data has been sent through PensionSync to the pension providers. You can see payment approval history. Basically, most of the interactions that you can do through PensionSync, you can download reports of those in a simple sort of CSV file report for your own compliance and audit keeping purposes.
Perfect. Thanks ever so much for covering that off, Dan. So we've taken a look at who the people's pension are. We've understood a little bit more about PensionSync. Let's make this about yourselves, the payroll professionals at the end of this. What are the advantages surrounding using this payroll integration? So, Rupert, I suppose the question that I have for you is, from your perspective, what do you see as the key advantages surrounding using this payroll integration?
Thanks, Rachel. It's a really good question. And if you take what the legislation has brought, pensions now are intrinsically linked to pay. So we do know that every time a customer or an employer is paid, they have to calculate and run the pension contributions. And what we've seen in the past is that's very, very manual, and where people have especially payroll professionals and bureaus that are on this call, you could be managing lots of pension providers, employer schemes through different portals, and you're having to manually upload data files, which are CSVs that you may get from your payroll software, or in some cases, if your payroll software doesn't support that, you actually have to go and create them yourselves, which can be a massive admin burden to payroll professionals and bureaus. So what we see here is what payroll integration can do, and by linking to the likes of Dan and the PensionSync guys, or having that through your own payroll software, is it will take a lot of the pain away from sending the data, because you can stay within your own payroll or your own system that you're using and actually do it by sort of the click of the button. So I'm sure people on this call will be saying that's a godsend to me, because I spend time and hours every week or month having to upload lots of my clients or my own pension scheme data. So by enabling a payroll integration through the digital technology of APIs, you can transfer it quickly. It can go straight through from your payroll system via PensionSync or directly from your payroll into the people's pension or whatever scheme if your client has chosen. So I see that as a real saving. And I was even talking to a bureau not long ago who have embraced payroll integration, and they were saying it saved so much time every month because they manage in excess of a couple of hundred clients. So we are really seeing now that this should be embraced, digital technology, because you've got to do this. It's a bit like RTI. You have to do this as when you run your payroll, that at the end of it, you have to do your submissions for real-time information to the HMRC. It should be the same way with pensions as well. So I see that as a real benefit here. But as Dan was mentioning, some of the stuff that PensionSync offer, by doing it that way, it's more accurate, which certainly helps us as a pension provider, because it means we get better data for our member records and the information we get, which is what we all want, and can reduce the time and the data errors and the unnecessary complications that you may get by manually doing a lot of these functions. And I think the overall process, having lots of less sort of manual input, and by transferring the data directly, ensures that everything is secure and it's just all happening in the background. So you don't have to see anything, you just click a button and off it goes. So it's a real game changer using sort of payroll integration for your pension processes.
Amazing. Dan, do you have anything else to sort of add on top of what Rupert's discussed with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So picking up on the point about the time savings, when I speak to payroll bureaus, I'm often hearing things like nowadays pensions has become such a big part of payroll that actually payroll processors find themselves spending as much, or in some cases more, time on the pension part of the process than the payroll part of the process. I've been told that the overall pension process can take several days of of processing for an individual payroll processor each month. One of our PensionSync users told us that they were saving about 50 hours a month by using PensionSync to automate that process. So the time savings can be highly significant, and it can be the difference, I think, between the pension part of the process being a kind of value add service that is actually a valuable service that you provide to your clients, compared to a drain on your resources if you're processing it manually. So I think that is a really important point to pick out from what Rupert was saying.
Absolutely. And I think just to add as well, surrounding the accuracy of the data, because you're using this integration, you are eliminating that room for human error. And in a world where we're all constantly looking at ways of improving the quality and the integrity of our data, for me, payroll integration really is a bit of a no-brainer when it comes to producing good quality data on a consistent basis.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that.
Rupert, do you have any other thoughts surrounding the advantages?
Well, I can only reiterate how beneficial this is, and I wish everybody could do this and it was made law, but obviously that's not there at the moment. But it's one of those things where we want to just help the customers we have and the intermediaries that service those customers and say, let's make this easy for you. And at the moment, the integration and the facilities that are out there are a godsend.
Absolutely, which leads us on nicely. Thank you, Rupert, for that wonderful lead in to the next part of the presentation, which is Dan walking us through a little demonstration surrounding how PensionSync can actually work and support you and your clients.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. So I've prepared a short video demonstration. It's just a couple of minutes long. What the video shows you is how a kind of whistle-stop tour of the end-to-end process. So how you would link up your clients to PensionSync, how you'd be able to view them all in the PensionSync dashboard, how PensionSync helps you to standardize your data flows, whichever software you're using. And it does feature a couple of examples in the video. So it shows you how to get standardized data files out of Sage 50, for example, and it shows you how Iris Payroll Professional uses a full integration so that you can send the data at the click of a button. And then finally, it gives you an example of how PensionSync can reduce payroll-to-pension processing errors and simplify the handling of them when they do occur, so that you're eliminating payroll rework and ensuring that you get the maximum time savings out of the system.
fantastic. So we had a question in and it says, if I was to use the bulk upload feature to drop all my clients' files, how do I know when they've been processed, which is always a good question. And a follow-up on from that is, how long does it actually take?
Yeah, okay, good questions. So when you use the bulk upload facility, there's a very simple upload page in PensionSync. So all that you do is get your files that you've exported out of payroll. And to be clear, this is if you are using a payroll software that doesn't have the full integration. So what you're doing is you're taking standard payroll data files out of your payroll software and then uploading them into the PensionSync dashboard directly. So if you were using Sage 50, for example, this is the process that you would use. You can save all of your clients' pension files in a secure location and then drag and drop them into PensionSync. And the PensionSync dashboard will give you an initial status update to say whether the files have been accepted or not, and then you'll be able to go to the full PensionSync dashboard and it'll tell you exactly what's happened with those files, whether they've been delivered to the pension provider, whether the pension provider has accepted them or not, and if there are any errors or anything like that, then it will give you a call to action so that you can actually fix the problem with the file and re-upload it. So it makes it very, very simple to see exactly what's happening. In terms of how long does it take? Well, the initial file upload process, depending on the size of the batch, but usually that is completed within just a few seconds. And then the actual processing time from the pension providers can vary a little bit depending on the pension providers. If it's People's Pension, for example, it's normally completed within about 2 or 3 minutes, so it's really quick. Some of the other pension providers can take a little bit longer. Typically, the longest that any of the pension providers will take for a simple kind of contribution upload would be about 10 to 15 minutes. So it's generally a pretty quick process.
Amazing. And a really good question actually that's come in is surrounding the payment of the contributions. How does that work with the integration of payroll software? Because in some instances at present you have to log on and submit and confirm and instruct the payment to be taken. Is that any different with the payroll integration that you're offering at PensionSync?
Yeah, it is a good question. So obviously, if you are using a system like PensionSync or any sort of payroll integration system, the last thing you really want to be doing is, once you've had your data sent automatically or through automation, you don't then want to have to be going and manually logging into a pension provider's website just to click a button to approve the payment. And actually, most of the pension providers are pretty good in that regard, and I'd include People's Pension in that again, in terms of facilitating automatic direct debit collection through your own systems. So that being the case, the direct debit would just collect as normal upon receipt of the data or on the pre-agreed collection date. So there's no real change in that process, and there would be no need to manually log in to the People's Pension or Smart Pension or Aviva, any of those providers. The direct debit would just collect automatically. The one that we do get asked about quite often, and I'm sorry to mention a competitor by name here, but it's Nest, where Nest don't offer that automatic direct debit collection facility within their own system. So that presents a big challenge for payroll users, because even if they are sending the data through automation, they still have to complete a manual process to approve the payments. PensionSync does have a solution for that, which is automatic Nest direct debit approval. So even for Nest, we automatically approve the payments so that so that the payroll client doesn't have to.
Rupert, I know that you have had lots of interactions with payroll professionals. From their point of view then, what really is in it for them in terms of increased efficiencies with this payroll integration?
So yeah, what does this actually bring to the users and the people on this call? Well, I think the main thing with this is it's the time, it's the real time saving. I know it's sort of obvious there because we've got a sort of clock on the screen, but it's, if you can do this, manage your pension without leaving your payroll or the system you're using, and not having to keep logging in and logging out of different systems, makes yourself as a business much more efficient, because you're just sending the data like at the click of a button, and it's so much quicker, and you're taking out all of those manual steps that you have currently by having to do it manually with uploads. And as Dan mentioned about what PensionSync offer, it's all secure. So it's effectively sending data down an invisible pipe, and that data is secure and encrypted and ensures that at the other end receives good quality data. And managing it all in one place. I'm sure people on this call, by saying I've got to log into different systems and processes to try and understand what I've got to do on each time of each month or each week, that's a big burden on time and resource. So that's really key there. And from our side as well, because of what Dan and the PensionSync guys offer, where I'd be working with softwares who can't do integrations directly with pension schemes. So it's one of those things where having that facility to bulk upload CSV files, because predominantly a lot of clients can get a CSV file out of their system, but having the bulk upload through what PensionSync do takes away a lot of those manual processes. And what I see it as well is it's the streamlining of it all, and it makes the companies that are on this call, or the people on here, a way of diverting some of the savings and money into making a business a success. So I see that as real benefits.
Absolutely. And I suppose with the introduction of payroll integration, it gives payroll professionals the opportunity to perhaps take a step back and revisit the services that they currently offer for their clients, to see if we take away the heavy lifting of the file upload and introduce this integration, they have more time to deal with their clients, to service their clients, to add value, to add different levels of services to what they already provide for their clients. I know, Dan, you have a testimonial for us from one of the payroll bureaus that we both work with. And I think that they've used it as a real opportunity, well, exactly that, a real opportunity to expand their business.
Yeah, absolutely. You've teed it up perfectly there, Rachel. The bureau in question is called Abco Payroll Limited, and the quote we've got here is from Alex Fleet, who is the director of the business. She's a big fan of PensionSync. She's a big fan of the People's Pension. She uses the People's Pension for a lot of her clients, and she uses PensionSync to manage those schemes for the People's Pension clients and for other clients as well. In total, they're using PensionSync for about 160 clients, and Alex regards it as an essential part of their business toolkit. They couldn't be without it. Manually processing that volume of pension schemes would take far too much time. It would not be profitable for them to manage pension schemes in that way. But with the systems that they have in place and using forward-thinking pension providers that deal with payroll integration, Abco are able to offer pensions as a value-add service, and it's an essential part of their proposition that delivers value to their business, as opposed to, as I kind of touched on earlier, if you are processing it manually and it's taking up lots more time and it's just kind of a drain on your resources and eroding the value that you get out of your payroll business, which is, I think, the case for a lot of payroll bureaus with the pensions. For Abco, it is a genuine sort of profit centre for their business.
So what's next? I suppose if you're all sitting there thinking, I've listened to who you are, what you do, the advantages, I've had a look at how it works in practice, how do I get involved? Dan, for you first, what are the next steps for the payroll professionals today?
Yeah, so if you're sitting on this webinar watching and thinking, actually, I spend a lot of time, or my team spends a lot of time processing pensions, this looks like a really good idea that would save us a lot of time and make our business run more efficiently and be more profitable, then get in touch with us. There's a link on screen now on the PensionSync.com website where you can sign up for a free trial. We are offering a 3-month free trial at present. So by all means, reach out through the website. If you sign up for a free trial or register for a free trial through the website, then we'll get in touch with you with all of the relevant information for your particular payroll software and the pension providers that you're using, so that you've got all of the instructions you need to get set up, and we'll kind of handhold you through the early stages of getting set up and running with PensionSync. Be more than happy to help.
And Rupert, from the People's Pension perspective, what can they do to get involved?
So thanks, Rachel. Yeah, so for the guys on this call today, please do go and see our website, and the links there on the screen. This will let you know if you're using softwares and which ones we're partnered with who offer payroll integration alongside the good work that PensionSync do there. So if lots of you will be using different ones, so do have a look on there to see if your software is linked through for an integration with a people's pension. And by all means, if you've got any questions or queries, then be more than happy to help outside of this. There's a common theme for payroll professionals at the moment is things like making tax digital. That's a very new thing, and I think this goes a long way to making pensions digital.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And that leads us on quite nicely to have the last sort of 5 minutes in answering some of your questions. So thank you everyone who has posted some questions. We've had a few in, so I'm going to try and get through as many as possible. So gentlemen, Rupert, Dan, I know you both love to talk, but if we could try and keep the answers as short as possible, just so we can get through as many online. So the first question here is BrightPay able, are you able to use BrightPay with PensionSync? Dan, one for you.
It's possible, but it's a little bit tricky at the moment because BrightPay doesn't currently export the PAPDIS standard data file that PensionSync is kind of based on, I suppose. However, very soon PensionSync will be expanded to accept more different data formats, and that will include, in the first instance, the People's Pension specific CSVs and the Nest specific CSVs. So if you're using BrightPay for People's Pension and Nest in particular, then you will be able to use it with PensionSync very, very soon. In the next month or so, we'll be going live with that. And I'll be making announcements around that as and when that is possible. We will look to add other data formats as well, so that if you're using the likes of Aviva, Smart Pension, etc., you'll be able to use PensionSync for those with BrightPay as well.
Amazing, thank you. One for you, Rupert. And it's a good question. Will I still be able to log into my People's Pension online portal if I'm using the integration?
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, that's actually a really good question. And I don't think, exactly where we are with it now is nothing changes. So as long as you have access now and you've been doing it manually and you've got your own login to the People's Pension portal, you will still have full access to that in the same way that you do now to manually upload. The main difference is you just don't have to upload a manual file. So you can use PensionSync or a software that connects directly and send the data and still manage the scheme and log into the portal to see what's happening with that, with either your own account or with your client account with People's Pension. So no, you don't lose any access to what you've currently got with the portal.
Fantastic. Dan, one for you. When will an employer get emailed or notified when any of the employees either opt out or stop contributing?
We don't send email notifications as a matter of course. The reason behind that is that feedback from payroll was that their inboxes get filled up with enough email notifications as it is. So you mentioned opt-outs as an example there, and opt-out reporting is available on demand from PensionSync at any time. So rather than us bombarding the users with emails, the idea is that when you're about to run your payroll, you go in and you request your report of opt-out notifications, so you can get it at the time that you need it. You don't need to be kind of hunting through your email inbox looking for those notifications.
Lovely, thank you, Dan. I'm conscious of time, so we're going to close off now. There are a couple of questions that's still outstanding, but I promise we will cover those offline with you. If you do have any further questions, contact details for the relationship executive team for the People's Pension are on your screen now. Please take a note of them, make the most of that. We are more than happy to field any questions that you might have. Rupert, Dan, any closing thoughts from yourselves at all?
I really liked Rupert's strapline of making pensions digital. I'm surprised nobody's thought of that before. You want to coin that, Rupert?
I will do. Yeah, definitely. I've noted that already. Yeah, I've got that down there. But no, I think, and I know we're really strapped for time. I think it's been really good today to help the audience understand the intricacies of integration, and going forward, let's make this work for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for dialing in. I appreciate you're all busy people. We hope you found the webinar really useful. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.